Okay, here in this video we are going to use Microsoft Excel Online to learn how to manage data using a table. So let's go ahead and get started with what we need to do, because it makes it a lot easier to understand what we're doing if you can actually see the file we're going to be working with. So here in the directions you see it says to click the link here to access the Excel file. So we're going to click on that, and it's going to take you to my OneDrive folder. And then here's the file right here that you're going to need, exg1.xlsx. And you're going to need to immediately copy this folder to the folder that you have previously created. It should have your name on it with the word work. So you're going to click on this button with the three dots on it, and then you're going to go to copy to. And then you're going to come over here and look on your OneDrive, and you're going to have to find the folder that you have previously created. And so let's just say it's, in this case, this is the folder that I used for my examples. Got my name on it, the word work, and then I click copy here. And then when you do that, the next thing you need to do is to actually go to that folder, because remember, this folder, this file right here, if you were to open it up, you're in my OneDrive. As you can see here, you cannot edit that file, but you can edit the version that you just copied to your folder. So you would have to come here, and here is that file, and you click it to open it up. And there are two worksheet tabs down here, and what I want to do is to click on this yellow one first, because it will help me to explain what we're doing with a table. Now this is a table that has been created in Microsoft Excel, and not only does it physically look like a table, but it has the functionality of a table as well. If you look up here at the top, if you have created a table and it has the functionality of a table, you're also going to have a Table Tools Design tab up here, and you're going to have some features that are related to tables. Now, if you were to click outside of this table, as I just did, you notice that that goes away. So I want to click back in here, and again, I want to click on this Table Tools Design tab. And again, I told you earlier that a table is an organized collections of rows and columns of data that is structured in a similar manner. And basically, you have two main parts of the table. You have fields and records. And fields contains all the individual pieces of information that you have about a record, and a record is a collection of all of those field entries that is related to one particular object or person or some other item. Now here in this example, we are looking at a travel agency that has used and created a table to help them determine when a certain trip will be scheduled and how many, what day that it departs, that it starts, the number of days that the trip lasts, the number of seat capacity, whether or not this is going to be on an airplane or a bus or something of that nature. You have another field that tells you how many of those seats are currently reserved, and the number reserved cannot go over your seat capacity. And it also gives you the price of the trip, and here it says air included. So because we mentioned air, we can assume this is talking about airplanes and not buses necessarily. And whether or not trip insurance is included, for example, if you were to have to cancel your trip once you have booked it. So again, all of these going across are records, and all the pieces of data going down, these are fields. And the field names are going to be in the very top row, and then the record name are going to be down here in the first column going down. And as I go through and create this lesson, Again, remember, I'm doing this using Excel Online, and the lesson that I'm looking at, some of the things that they're going to tell me to do in this lesson, I'm going to find out as we go along that I cannot do this in the online version of Excel, and if that's the case, we'll just go through and skip that part. But be prepared for that, because it will happen. All right, so what we're going to do now is we want to come back and we want to look at getting a little bit of practice. So we're going to come back and click on this practice worksheet right here, and this is a blank worksheet. So we're going to create a small table. So what I'm going to have you to do is to type what you see me typing here in these cells. And I'm using the tab key to move across. Okay, so those are all our fields, and obviously these columns are not wide enough to display all of the text. So what we're going to do is I want to click on this button right here, and then I want to right click this, and I want to go to column width. And I'm just going to put in a number. I'm going to put in 20, and let's see if this is going to be wide enough. And so I type in 20 and I click OK, and these columns are all wide enough, and they may actually be a little too wide. We'll worry about that later. We'll make some adjustments to these columns later on. So now we want to come here to cell A2. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pause this video, and I am going to enter all of this information, and then when I'm done, you can see what needs to be typed, and then you can pause the video and you can type it into your worksheet as I have. Okay, so now I'm back. So what you would want to do is at this point is to pause the video and enter this information as you see it, and then come back to the video. Okay, so now that you're back, what we're going to do is we're going to actually format this as a table. Now, two main things to remember about the table is that a table generally will, not only will it look like a table, but it will also function like a table and allow you to manipulate the data and to sort the data in the table in a particular order and filter out and find only certain records that you are looking for based upon certain pieces of data. So the first thing we need to do is we need to click somewhere inside this data. And what we're going to do is under the Home tab, we're going to go under Format as Table, and we're going to select a table style. Now you've got all these different table styles that are available to you, and the table style that you select really doesn't matter too much, but I'm going to try to find the one that I'm looking at in this old book, this old textbook, and I want to select this medium style that's red, number 10. So it's this one right here, and I really don't care if you pick this one or a different one, but you do want to pick one that has a header row, because the first row is shaded a different color or a darker shade in these medium styles to indicate that you do have a header row, which means you're going to have labels that indicates what the information in the column represents. And then the next thing you're going to see is this. And yes, your table does have headers. That's what you see up here in row 1. Again, that is describing what information is contained in these columns. So you would click OK, and when you do that, you see that not only does this now look much more like a table, but it also has the functionality of a table. You could come up here and you'll see your Table Tools Design tab, and you'll also have these filter and sort buttons that you could use to sort this data in different order, and you could filter out and find only the specific records that you're looking for. Now, right now, this particular table only has 3 records in it, and so it's pretty easy to actually filter out and find the information that we're looking for. But what if this had 3,000 records in it? Using this table functionality can be a great time saver in allowing you to sort in a particular order this data and to find only records that you're looking for that meet a specific criteria. Okay, so when you do this, if you look under Table Tools Design tab, you're going to come back and see the different table styles again that are available to you. You can change these at any time that you wanted to, but we're just going to leave it at this. But there's some other things that I want to go over with, and some of these things they're definitely good to know, but most of what I'm about to show you would absolutely show up on a certification exam. Now, a certification exam would not be on the online version of Excel, but on the desktop version of Excel, what you see here, all of this obviously is going to be on the desktop version of Excel, and it's definitely worth discussing what these things do. So I'm going to start left to right. Over here you have a table name. Now you can give a table a name, and this table name by default is named Table 2. And the reason why it's named Table 2 and not Table 1 is if you were to go back to the 2016 Tours worksheet and look up in here under the Table Tool Design tab, that table is already there and it's named Table 1. So it automatically, when you create a table, it just goes in order, and if there's 13 tables in there, the next table will be Table 14. So this is Table 2, and notice there's no spaces in here. Tables cannot have certain characters, including spaces, in the name. You also have a Convert to Range button, which will basically allow you to take the functionality from a table. Now, I could click this button right here, and it would still look like a table, as we see here, but you would lose the functionality, basically meaning that all these filter buttons would go away. Now, removing duplicates is a nice feature that's on the certification exam, where, especially if you had large tables with many records in it, you could click on this, and I'll just click on it to show it to you. It's going to allow you to delete duplicate records, and typically, depending upon what type of a database that this is, you may want to only look at one of these, basically saying we want to eliminate all duplicates where you have the same tour, or we want to remove all duplicates that shares the same tour and depart date, or you want to remove duplicate records that shares the same tour and depart date and number of days, and things of that nature. Now, again, that's a skill that is on the certification exam, and we're not actually going to do that here, because I'm not preparing you for a certification exam, or at least we're not going to do that at this moment. All right. And by the way, I just noticed this should actually be number of days. So I just want to double click in there and put the S in there, and I want to hit enter, and it automatically updates that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to come back, click the Design tab again. We've got these options over here. We've got a header row. We've already established this table has a header row. When we formatted this as a table, we said, yes, it has a header row, which is what this first row is and why it's formatted different. A total row we're going to use later on in this activity, where it will add an additional row down here that will allow you to give different summary information. For example, you could find the sum or the average or the max or whatever. There's a lot of things you can do with that. Banded rows and banded columns, these refer to having alternating colors or shades. If I were to uncheck banded rows, look what happens to the shades in the data. Notice how one of those shades goes away. And depending upon the data and how it's organized, you may also want to have banded columns. Now you see, by the way, typically you're going to have either banded rows or banded columns. You're not typically going to have both. Okay, but we want this to be separated. It's more important for us to be able to separate these by record rather than by field. So we're going to leave this for right now, banded rows. If you wanted the first column to be formatted differently, basically where the first column would be more like the header row, you could click this first column and you see how that would change the formatting. You could also do it with a last column where it would format the last column differently. And we've already talked about banded columns, and then these filter buttons that you see right here, you can unclick that and make it go away. And that may be beneficial for in some cases, because you may want to share some information with someone and you don't really want them to be able to easily manipulate this, so you just simply remove the filter button. Now, they could easily add it back, but we're just this is not a matter of national security right here, so it's perfectly okay just to do something as simple as removing the filter button, because at the very least that would make it where somebody doesn't accidentally do something. So all of this that you see here, I'm promising you you would see on a certification exam if you took the certification exam, and all of these things obviously are also on the desktop version of Microsoft Excel. All right, so now that you've got a little bit of practice of creating a very small table from scratch, we're going to go down here and click this 2016 Tours Worksheet tab. And again, when you look at this and you see that we have 63 records in here, you've got a header row and then 63 records. Be thankful that I didn't have you to enter all of this from scratch. But I did think it was important enough for you to take this practice activity, so I gave you a simple 3-record table. All right, so we're going to come back here, and what we want to do is, first of all, we want to add some additional some additional data to this table. So I'm going to start by clicking somewhere in here, and again, I am going to do this. I'm going to attempt to do this using the same knowledge that I have pertaining to the desktop version. So as I go through this, I may try to do some things and I realize it doesn't work one way, and if that's the case, we'll just have to try it a different way. So I want to start by hitting Control and the End key on my keyboard. Control and End, E-N-D. And that takes me down to the end of this table. Now, honestly, I expected it to come down here to this cell right here and click. This is in cell H64, as you see up here in the name box. But basically, you do need to go to H64. You could also have typed H64 up here in this name box and hit Enter, and it would have taken you down here. So there's a couple of different ways to get down here. Of course, you could have just scrolled down here and found it and clicked. All right. So the next thing that we want to do is, while we are inside this last cell of this table, we want to hit I hit the Enter key. That didn't work the way I thought. So now I want to try and hit the Tab key, and I want to start typing in Pearls of the Orient. All right, now we already have a tour named Pearls of the Orient, which is why that shows up, and we are going to have another one. So what we want to do is just hit the Tab key, and I actually had to hit it twice. And when I did that, notice that because we were directly below that table, that Excel can detect that we want this new row to be part of this table as well. So it automatically adds this row to this table, this new record, and notice how it changes because we're using banded rows, it automatically puts in the alternating shade. So we're going to put in the date right here of 7/25/2016, and yes, I know we're watching this and it's almost 2021 and we're talking about dates in 2016. That's completely irrelevant. So here, the number of days we want to put in, this is a 14-day trip. Next, we want to put in its 51 seat capacity. As of right now, because this is brand new, we have no seats reserved. The cost of this trip will be $1,850. But notice how when I put in $1,850, how the cell automatically, as did all the other cells, they automatically took on the formatting of the cell directly above it. And then this does include the airfare, and it does include travel insurance. Okay. So then what I want to do is I want to hit enter. And I just realized I made a little bit of a boo-boo, and that's perfectly okay. That's going to happen. That's 14. This number right here, seat capacity, that should actually be 50. And then 0 is correct. And then this amount should be 2,400. And then it's yes and no. So again, as we go through this, it's certainly, we're going to make mistakes. Basically, I just looked too far down in my text. So now I want to come down here and click in cell A66, and now I want to start typing in Yellowstone. And we already have a Yellowstone, so I'm going to hit the Tab key, and it's going to automatically add this record to the table as well. And it's going to depart on 1/28/2016. Again, I know we're past that date. It's irrelevant. It's an 18-day tour. Has a 51-seat capacity. No one has booked it yet because it's brand new. Now this one is $1,850. And yes, this includes both. All right. So I hit the, by habit, I hit the enter key, which took me down here. But if I had wanted to go back and actually enter additional information into this, I just came back here and clicked. Again, the desktop version of Excel and the online version of Excel, both are going to work slightly different. All right, so the next thing we want to do is to go to cell I1, and you can tell that I briefly paused the video. And I want to come up here to the name box, and I want to type in I1. And hit enter, and it's going to take me to cell I1, and it's going to give me, kind of like I just did with adding new rows, it's going to give me the option to add in new columns. So I want to type in the words seats available, and then I want to hit the enter key, and when I do that, notice how it adds an additional column, and it also adds a filter and sort button to this as well. So now the next thing that we want to do is we want to go to, and we want to make sure So now what we want to do is go to cell J1, and we want to create another column, and we want to put in the words visa required. Because if you travel outside of the country, if you go to certain countries, you may need a visa or a passport. So now if I hit enter, and it does the same thing, and again I could scroll down to verify that these are indeed part of the table, which in this case you should just be able to look and tell immediately. Now, one of the other things that I wanted to point out to you that you could have done is, we added records and fields to the very end of this, but you could have just as easily added in a record or a field somewhere in the middle. If you'd wanted to add a record right here between records 17 and 18, you could have come here and right-clicked on top of the row header for 17, and you could have clicked Insert Rows, and it actually would have put it in above that row. So you would have an additional record that you could have put in right here. Maybe you already had this in some kind of an order and that you wanted it to appear. Maybe it was already in ascending order or alphabetical order, I should say, and you just went ahead and put it up here automatically. You could also have done the same thing in the middle by right-clicking a column header and going to Insert Columns. And if you wanted a new blank empty column in column D, you would click on column D, right-click on the header and go to Insert Column, and then you would have a new blank column D, and then you could put in the new column header, whatever you wanted it to be, right here. Now, we really don't want to do either of these two things, so the easiest way to get rid of these is just to hit the undo button a couple of times until that new column and that new row both goes away. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go and we are going to use a feature called Find and Replace. Now, this feature it's very similar to what you would use in Word and also in PowerPoint, and it's a very useful feature especially if you have a large table with a lot of records in it. And it allows you to find information that meets certain criteria, and it also allows you to automatically replace something. Maybe you've misspelled something, or and you want to replace all the occurrences of a misspelled word or something of that nature. This feature is very useful. So I want to hit the Control and the Home button to take me back automatically to cell A1. I could have also typed in A1 in the name box and hit Enter. So what I want to do is I want to come over here under the Home tab, and I want to go under Find and Select, and I want to select Find. And it's going to open up this dialog box, and they want us to type in Old Japan, because apparently they have a tour that they have called Old Japan. And then you click Find Next. And what it's going to do is, in this case, it's going to take you down to the second record, just happens to be Old Japan. Now, again, what if this table had 2,000 records in it? Well, now you can click Find Next, and it takes you down to this record here. And again, on row 37 and 64. And then when it goes back and it starts circling through, you've gotten to the end. Okay? So now what we want to do is we want to go to and hit the Replace button. So now what I want to do is, once I hit that Replace button, I want to find all occurrences of IR. And I want to put an asterisk up here. And then I want to replace this with Scotland. Now, let me explain what this does. You can search a table using a wildcard character. And in this case, the wildcard character is the asterisk. And what that does is that stands for one or more characters. So basically, you can search here, and any occurrence that is found in here of the letters I followed by an R, it's going to automatically replace that when I hit the Replace button with the word Scotland. Now, apparently what we're looking for here, if I had to guess, is we're looking for all occurrences of the word Ireland, the country Ireland. And, why don't you just type in Ireland? Well, you could do that, but what if you're not sure if you spelled Ireland correct the first time? So the IR asterisk will also look for words. It'll automatically find words like iron and hair and bird, because the letters IR are in succession in those words. Okay. So you have to be careful when you do this, and you actually want to make sure that you find only the country of Ireland. So what you can do, come down here, is to click on this arrow next to search options, and you want to click on here where it says match the case. So if you click on match the case, that means you're going to have to find a capital R. So it's going to have to be a capital R followed by a capital I followed by lowercase r, and then any other series of letters. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to click Find Next, and it's going to take us down here, and you see Biking in Ireland is right here. And what they want us to do is they just want us to come over here and click Replace All. Now when I click Replace All, notice it says All Done. We made 3 replacements. So you can come down here and scroll and you'll see Biking in Scotland. And I probably should have showed you this before I actually did it and went and showed you the other occurrences of any country, or that, or any instance of IR followed by any other, but it's in here somewhere. But it made 3 changes in here. Made this one, and I was looking for the word Scotland. Let me just click Find. Well, I can't click Find. Yeah, here it is, Biking in Scotland, and there's another one that's in here somewhere. But anyway, that's what the Find and Replace feature will do for you. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to delete some table data. So what we want to do is we want to go to row A3, and there's some so I want to click, first of all, I want to close out this box, and I want to go to the name box and type in A3 and hit enter. And actually I want to go and let's see here. And what I want to do is I want to delete table rows. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to go under the Table Tools Design tab, and then I want to click this Remove Duplicates button. And I showed you this briefly earlier, and basically what it's wanting us to do is to delete any duplicate records. And the table does have headers in it, so we want to make sure that stays checked. And then what we want to do is we want to delete a particular record. And because we have already established that we have got different tours with the same name that would be on different dates, those are not the same record. Those are not duplicate records. So we only want to delete duplicate records where everything matches, meaning that we just have multiple entries of the same trip on the same day. So what we're going to do is we want to leave all of these checked, and then we want to click OK. And notice it says 2 duplicate values found and removed, and 63 unique values remain. So basically it found 2 occurrences where we had the exact same data in twice, and it removed it. And again, if you had a much larger table than what this one is, you can see how beneficial it would be to use this Remove Duplicate Figures or duplicate records, just so you don't repeat anything unnecessarily. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is we want to go to cell J1 again, which is right here, Visa Required. And basically we want to delete this entire field from the table. So I want to right click it and try to right click it. It won't let me do it like that. So what I want to do is to come up here under the Home tab, and I want to click this Delete. And because I've already clicked on the column header, I've got that entire column selected. I want to delete the sheet column, and it removes that field from the table. It's completely gone, and as is the functionality that we previously had here in column J. So that is gone as well. And again, you can do the same thing with a column that was in the middle, or a row that's in the middle of this data. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to start sorting this data. And we're going to be able to sort it in an order that makes sense to us. And we want to be able to look at this, and by date, we want to see when these are leaving by their depart date. So what we want to do is we want to come over here, and we want to go to column B, which contains the depart date header right here, and we want to click on this, and we want to sort this in ascending order. So basically that means that we want to sort this in oldest to newest, or I should say the earliest depart date and then the latest depart date. So when we click oldest to newest, notice it starts here that says Pacific Odyssey, then it's got Old Japan in here, then Costa Rica, and we got a couple in here from Yellowstone and whatnot. And notice how you've got this arrow right here that points up, and then that lets you know that you have got this in ascending order. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to go back and we want to look, and we want to say, okay, this trip right here that we've got scheduled for Old Japan, we actually need to cancel that for whatever reason. So what we want to do is to right click on this row header and go to delete rows, and now that trip has been completely removed. Okay, so you can delete a record, and again, you may find again that you didn't have enough people for that trip, or something happened. Maybe they had a typhoon or something. I mean, I don't mean to sound cruel or anything, but you know, things happens that cause you to cancel trips, like weather events or pandemic, I guess. All right, so the next thing that we want to do is to go over here to the price, and we want to sort next. We want to sort this by price, and we want the most expensive one to be listed first. Now, notice that right now that you only have a filter button right here on the depart date. So we're looking at it, the most recent depart date, and then the later depart dates. So it goes earliest to latest. But now we want to come over here and change this by price, and we want to sort these in descending order, largest to smallest. Now, when I do that, notice how that this button now has, this filter button has an arrow that points down, but notice that the one that was previously over here is now gone. So essentially what we just did was we first sorted this by depart date in ascending order, and then we sorted this by price in descending order. But what if you wanted to sort these by both of those methods at the same time? Now again, remember, if you look at this, you see the arrow pointing down here and you see nothing here. So as of right now, we have sorted this a different method 2 different times. But what if you want to use 2 different methods at the same time? Well, what you would have to do is to come over here under the Data tab, and then you would have to click the Custom Sort button. And this opens up. So what if you wanted to sort it first by date, depart date, in ascending order, and then you would have to come over here and click the price, or click the Add button to add a level, and then select price, and then sort in descending order. Then you would click OK. So now what you could do is you could come back and look at these, and you see that both of these now have an arrow on there indicating that we have sorted this 2 different ways. First by depart date and then by price. Now, you know, it's not really going to matter on this first sort until you come to an occurrence where you have 2 tours that depart the same day. And as I'm looking at this, I don't see one until we get down here until June the 9th. And you've got 2 tours that leave the same day. And notice that the one that is more expensive is listed first, because that's the way we indicated we wanted it to do. And then down here a couple days later on June the 12th, you've got 2 that are on the same day. And notice how the one that's $70 more expensive is listed first, because we indicated that we wanted the larger numbers to be listed first. So that is what is meant by a custom sort, and it's very important to understand and to read the directions Because again, if you were doing a certification exam, they may tell you to sort by both depart date in ascending order and then price in descending order. They don't want you to sort it each way once. They want you to use this custom sort the way I just showed you. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to go back and let's see here. So let's say that you wanted to get an idea of all of your tours that were available to you and you wanted to find out when they were available. So what you can do is we want to put a custom sort on these. So again, you got to make sure that you click somewhere inside this table first. And then I want to click this clear button, and notice how that the filter buttons are now gone, or those arrows are now gone. The filter buttons are there, but the arrows are gone. So we removed that. So we want to put another sort on this. So first thing we want to do is we want to sort this by tour, and we want these to be in ascending order, which is A to Z order. And then we want to add a level to it. And then what we want to do is we want to next sort by depart date, also in ascending order, which is A to Z, which is in this case oldest to newest, because we're actually talking about dates here. Now again, on the desktop version of Excel, this would say oldest to newest instead of sort ascending, but on the online version it just says ascending or descending. So I want to click OK. And then if you go look at these, you see that first all of these tours are sorted in alphabetical order so that you can easily find them. And then the soonest trip that is available is listed in order. So again, African National Parks, you got one here, it leaves April the 8th, and then you got the next one isn't until December the 27th. What if you had somebody that was interested in going on that biking in Scotland? Well, you could quickly find biking in Scotland, and then because they're sorted together, and then you'd see that you have those trips that depart on June the 11th, July the 11th, and August the 11th. So again, that is why you might want to sort these in order so that you could quickly find all of them. All right, now you can also put in formulas in tables, and this is something, again, this is going to show up on a certification exam, and it's a time saver. And you have to remember on a certification exam, if you take it, you only get 50 minutes on the exam, so anything that you can do to save time is very worthwhile. So what we're going to do here is we're going to come over here and click on seats available, and we're going to put in a formula. So all formulas start with an equal sign. You should know that from previous lessons. And then we're going to put in a square bracket. Now, again, this is going to be something where I'm going to see if this will work like it will on the desktop version. And what we're going to do is normally you would see at this point, you would see a list of the cells that are used up here as the field headers. And what I want to do is I want to type in seat capacity, because we do have a column or a field here that's named seat capacity. Now you have to spell it correct. And then you have to put a right bracket in there, a square bracket. And then you want to put in minus. And then you want to repeat the process with the brackets, and this time it's going to be seats reserved. Then I want to hit enter. All right, now here on the online version, I get this error message, and I told you things like this might happen. And again, it's perfectly okay that this happened, because we're going to go fix it. We're going to come back into this cell, and I want to hit equals. I'm back in cell I2, and I want to put in seat capacity. I just want to click on that cell, and then minus, and I want to click on seat reserved. So now I want to hit the enter key, and then look what happens. Those automatically update. So again, you know, because this is in a table, Excel will automatically take that formula and copy it down or fill it down to the rest of these cells. Okay? All right. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to add a total row to this table. So we're going to come over here under the Table Tools Design tab and click it. And we want to click this total row button, and it's going to add a total row down here to the bottom. It'll go to the bottom. Now, look, in this case, I could scroll down because I know there's only about 62 records in this table. You could have just as easily have hit Control End to go to the end of the table. And by default, it will put a sum function down here. Notice when I click on this cell and I get this arrow right here, it will automatically put a sum function down here in the lower right where it's got numbers in it. Now, there's other things you could do. You could maybe come here, and if you wanted to, you could put a sum function here. Or maybe you want to change that and make it an average. Or maybe you want to remove that completely now, click None. And there's a lot of different things that you could put down here. Now down here, you know, we've got dates listed here, so you really can't get a sum of dates. Now you can get a count, and you'd find out that as of right now, you have 62 records in this table. Remember, it recognizes that this table has a header row, so it does not include that. So that's why even though right here you look and you see that there's 63, that first row is not included because it's a header row. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to remove this one from here. What we're going to do next is we're going to come out here to the number of days field, and we're going to click right here, and we're going to put in an average, and we're going to find out that our average trip is about 13. So what we want to do is we want to take these numbers and we want to format them. So this one, I'm going to come up under the Home tab, and I want to decrease my decimal so that it's a whole number. So I just want that decimal to go away. So when you remove all the decimals, your trips average 13 days. And here you've got the number of seats available. You got 1,088. You can come up here and format this using a comma style if you wanted to, and then remove the decimals because we know we don't have any partial seats available. So now you got 1,088 seats available. All right, so the last thing we want to do here with this activity is learn how to filter out records so that you can find records that meet only the criteria that you're specifically looking for. And so what we want to do is to come up here and we want to click this tour list arrow that you see right here. And we want to select filter. Okay, now what we want to do when we click on filter, you've got all of these entries that are available to you. And notice you don't see any records repeated. You know we've got about 3 trips biking in Scotland, but we only see that listed once because it does not list all of the records. It just lists them, by the number of entries that are there in present one time. So let's say we only wanted to see our Yellowstone. What we could do is we click right here to uncheck where it says to select all, and then we could scroll down here to the bottom, and if we only wanted to see Yellowstone, we click on Yellowstone and click OK. Now in this case I need to scroll back up, but notice here you only see the Yellowstone. Now notice that down here in the total row that the number of days automatically updates to calculate the records that are displayed. Same thing over here with the seats available that we previously put in a sum function on that. Okay, so now we want to come over here and we want to clear this record. So over here on tour we want to click on that arrow, And then we want to clear the filter from the tour, and we come back and we see everything again. Now, what if we want to next look at the seats reserved, and we want to find which one of these are our 10 most, I guess, highly requested tours. So what we want to do is go to the seats reserved, and then over here we want to go to number filters. Now notice you've got all these different options that are available to you. You've got equals or does not equal, so you could look for something, or you could look for everything that does not meet a criteria, or you could look for everything that's greater than or equal or less than to a particular number. You look for everything in between, or a top 10, or an above average or below average. So you've got all these different number options. But we want to select top 10. And it's going to, now by default it says top 10. Now we're going to leave it at 10, but if you wanted to find the top 5 or the top 12 or whatever, you could put that in there, and then you click, we're going to click 10 for right now. And then here you see the top 10, and if you come over here and look, notice how here on the seats reserved button you have what kind of looks like to be a funnel. That means basically you have funneled or filtered out the information that you don't want to see, and you're looking only at the information that you do want to see. Now I could come back here and click this again, and I could go to the number filters again and click on this, and then this time I want to select it. I want to change it to 5 and click OK. And then again, notice how we only see the top 5. Now here's the thing though, it shows us the top 5 with, we told it top 5, but notice how we have 6 records here. Okay, we've got 6 records here. And actually I was rolling over the wrong one. We did seats reserved. We've got 6 records here, but notice how we've got, if you look, and we're just going to eyeball this, we've got one that's got 51 reserved, 50 reserved, and then we've got 39 reserved. But notice down here we've got 31 on here twice. So because we've got 31 on here twice, it doesn't know which one of these to show, so it's kind of like a tie for 5th. That's why you actually see 6 records right here. So now what we want to do, we want to go back and we want to look at some other ways we can filter this out. So now let's go back and look at this again, and we're going to click on this, and we want to come down here and go to the number filters, and we're going to go back to top 5. And now we're going to change this from top 5, which in this case left us with 6 because we had a tie, but now we want to change this to top 5%. So it's going to find out how many tours that we've got, and it's going to show us which ones are in the top 5% in terms of seats reserved. So we click OK. So now it shows us that we've only got these 3 records that are available to us, because again, these right now are our top 5% in terms of seats reserved. So there's all kinds of things that you can do with this. All right, so the next thing we want to do is we want to go and we want to clear all of this. So we want to go under the Home tab and click that, and we want to come over here to the Sort and Filter button, and we want to hit Clear, and we're going to clear all of that out and bring it back. So now what we want to do is we want to go to the Depart Date List era, and we want to click on that, and we want to go to Date Filters. And then now we want to find all the dates in a particular period. So all the dates in the period, and it can detect over here that we've got, we've got months listed, and we've got something listed for every month. So what if you just wanted to see the March ones? So you would come over here and click March, and then you're going to see only the tours that depart in March, which is the 3rd month. So now we want to go back and we want to remove that filter. So I want to click on that, and I want to clear that filter. And then the next thing that I want to do is to go and I want to create a custom filter. So what we want to do now is we want to go to the tour list era, and we want to click on that. And we're going to go to tour filter or text filters, and we want to go to custom filters. And actually want to go ahead and just click contains. And we want to look for all that contain the word sailing. So if you had somebody that wanted to go sailing, they didn't want to go biking, they didn't want to go surfing, they want to go sailing, you would put in sailing, then you would click OK. Then it shows you only have 2 occurrences of the word sailing in any of these tours. And again, you know, this table has about 62 records in it. You can see how quickly you could find the ones that are sailing. What if you had 6,200 records in here? Again, you would see how quick that you can do that. So now what we want to do is we want to come back and click that, and then we want to go to text filters, and then this time we want to select custom filter. And of course it took us right to where we were at, but now we've got these different options on here. And we want to come in here and we want to select now, we want to select biking. So we want it to contain biking. And so now we change that, and we see that we've got tours where you could go biking in France and biking in Scotland. Now, the desktop version of Excel would give you the option that this version does not, where you could go through and you could select contains either biking or sailing. So the last one we're going to look at is we're going to look at the depart date, and we've got the biking ones listed, and what we want to do is we want to remove that filter. So I want to clear that filter, and finally I want to come over here. What if we had a particular date range that we could take a trip? Well, you could come over here and select date filters, and then you could select over here, you've got between as an option. So we're going to click on between, and because we're talking about dates, you have to type this in the way I'm going to do it here. You have to type in 2/15/2016, and then you could put in 4/15/2016. So basically you could go between February the 15th and April the 15th. So then when I click OK, you see that you have these that are available to you as possible trips that you can take, because again, maybe that's when you can get away as you know, if you're an employee, you get your vacation time during a certain time of the year, and you just want to see what's available when you're available. So again, you see the application of tables, and it is a very useful skill. And again, I wanted to be sure that I included this with your lessons. That is it for this activity. When you turn this into me, I am going to be looking for these 2 cells right here to make sure that these numbers are what I'm expecting, and that is how I will know that you have completed this activity.